Step 3, you grow hard about what you want to be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up.
Welcome to Tales from the Field. My name is Bradley Ball. We are back and better than ever after a great week off. It is so good to be back here and joining you. We were off for Memorial Day on Monday and Tuesday. We uploaded video shorts to our Aways from the Field playlist. This is where we are basically off and we're out there having fun, and we let you see a little bit of what's going on with our lives. So please make sure and check those out. On Wednesday, we released how to create a Fabric KQL database shortcut. Then on Monday, Daniel Taylor was back again with Azure Data Studio and the ADS migration extension, a powerful combo for online SQL MI migrations, part 3. You want to make sure you check it out because you don't want to miss a thing. If this is your first time making your way over to Tales from the Field, give us a like and give us a subscribe. We drop content every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and this is Tuesday, so it is your Azure Data Community Roundtable. Do you want to interact with the show? It is so easy to do so. All you have to do is hop onto YouTube and then make a comment on the stream as we are presenting live, and one of my amazing co-hosts will see that comment, and they will add it to the stream, and you will be a part of the show. Speaking of those amazing co-hosts, I am joined by Daniel Taylor, Mr. Josh Luedeman, and he is the Jamie Tart superstar of this show. It's your friend and mine, Neeraj Jhaveri. Jhaveri. I don't know. Baby Shark? Anybody? No? Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just the only Ted Lasso go. Okay, good. Andreas is with me. There we go. All right. So before we go, why are you here? Well, this is because we're part of the Azure Data community. So what we want you to do is we want you to go and check out the Microsoft page for the Azure Data community at Microsoft.com. And there you will find user groups which are on around the globe that you can participate in. They meet monthly. There are virtual user groups. There are on-site, on-premise user groups that you can go and you can network with people. Wonderful way maybe to find a new job, find some information. If you got a problem, make some friends. It's good to be involved with the community. Speaking of being involved with the community, one of the things you're definitely going to want to do is you're going to want to head over to SQLSaturday.com. There's a lot of great events coming up, especially Orlando in October. I'm going to be there. Josh Luedeman's going to be there. Daniel Taylor's going to be there. One of our teammates, Karthik Yella, is going to be there. We're doing a pre-con also with Buck Woody from the Microsoft SQL product group on Microsoft Fabric, full day for the data engineer. You want to make sure that you go and sign up. Space is limited and we still have a few seats available. But if you're looking for that, and remember that SQL Saturday is free. Speaking of other great free content that we have, well, we also have Data Saturday. Data Saturday is a wonderful chance for you to be able to go to these different virtual events hosted around the globe. Wonderful content you're going to find. Microsoft presenters, MVPs, some of the top data consultants out there presenting and helping with different topics. As a quick honorable mention, of course, we want to talk about LinkedIn and LinkedIn Learning. There's the great Kevin Conan from the Microsoft Fabric product group saying hello, fabricators, and sharing some content. We are active on the channel. We have over 1,000 members at this point in time. If you are looking for information on Microsoft Fabric, make sure you head over there and you join. It is easy to do so. We don't have any guardrails. Anybody can join the group and begin posting and participating. And we are looking forward to you coming and interacting with us. Whew. What a fun time that we've had, especially with Labor Day. Dan, you're away from the fields. Are just absolutely amazing. I mean, almost 2,000 views on your Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween.
Yeah, look, the kid's getting older. He turned 17, so we went there this weekend, had Ohana breakfast, bumped hands, kissed babies with Lilo and Stitch, two of our favorite characters. It was a good time. Yeah, and if anybody wants to help out to break that 2,000 barrier, you can go watch that away from the field for me because I would love to break 2,000. I felt famous for a second there. I was like, ooh. I mean, you and I were joking about maybe we should just become influencers. It would be easier than this.
It probably would be. We're not going to need to do so much research, right? But we're here for the Azure Data community, and that's part of the fun of it. So I'm going to kick this off, heading straight over to that content, because we know we are here for the good stuff. Speaking of the good stuff, whenever this man speaks, you know he's bringing some good stuff to the table. It's your friend of mine, Neeraj Jhaveri. Neeraj, you are up first with building ChatGPT powered bots for SAP enterprise data on Microsoft Teams, a low-code approach. I mean, how many enterprises need this? This is fantastic.
This is like anybody in the market requires this, right? I mean, you want your SAP data to be brought into ChatGPT, like any salesperson or any person one can just type in, simple saying, what is my product, or what is the, instead of going writing complex queries, this is something that everybody is looking for it. Nice article by Holger. He also has given you a whole video on it, which is really nice, showing you how to create it up. I mean, the whole algorithm that he has used up it, he has given a way to do it up. And then by screenshots, he has explained exactly how to set up this whole environment. Pretty easy to do it. I mean, I did try playing around with it. Pretty easy to, the way he's explaining it out, it was pretty easy to set it up, and nice input on it to test your bot, which everybody's looking for how to create a bot, then virtually I can help them out to build it up. So nicely done way. Did I lose everybody?
Very, very nice. I like it. I like it a lot. Oh no, I've got you, Josh, Dan. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, loud and clear. Okay.
Yep.
We're having some technical issues for Andreas and Neeraj, so it seems like Miami and New Jersey might be having some issues. But we're not having issues right now. Is over in Orlando,
No, I think
Florida.
I was gonna say, I think it's the zombie apocalypse starting, and the internet's the first to go. Just saying.
Well, then we should have more viewers because they need this sense of normalcy.
No, they're trying to run away from walkers.
What are we doing?
Crap.
Dan's ready to go.
Super soaker. Let's be very clear. That is his super soaker.
Yeah. Dan's showing off his super soaker hardware. As the last days of summer are here, you'll notice I have some fall garland over by Captain America already doing the fall decorations over here. Speaking of great stuff over in Orlando, though, I'm actually going to, Christina Hughes is going to make this show twice. This is Christina's first entry. I really, really enjoyed this. Christina was talking about focusing on a different S-curve. This is one of the things I'm bringing to the table because we all talk about how important it is to focus on yourself, focus on your health. She references Adam Jorgensen, who is, of course, many of our former boss. He's a good friend. And he gave her a recommendation talking about how when you look at an S-curve, there are times that it changes where you need rest and relaxation in order to be able to go and focus on some things. And Christina was talking about why she's not going to the past summit and why she pulled out of another conference as well for a wedding that she's going to be having. Congratulations to her. Congratulations to her fiance. But also, as we know, our good buddy, Steve Hughes, her father, who is just a fantastic human being, has ALS, and they want to make sure and have the wedding this October. So my hat's off to her, first off, for concentrating on the things that matter, family, and taking that time to focus on it. The conferences will be there when she gets back. She is a wonderful contributor to this community. But I love that she was willing to share this so openly, to be able to show there are times that we need to back off and we need to think about the things that are more important in life. Other than going to a conference and presenting, and we work so hard to get there, right? This is not something that happens overnight. You put a lot of work in to build those relationships, to build the content, to write about things, to present on them at user groups. So when you get to the main stage, you're ready to go and you can really rock that presentation. And I feel for her, but I applaud her so much for making that decision. All right, let's see. So up next, we have, I mean, talking about applause, every time I see an entry from him, my heart applauds. I can't wait to hear him speak on this. Here is a wonderful thing, and it is from Daniel Taylor, running SQL Server best practice checks with Azure Data Studio to assess your SQL servers. I mean, this is great stuff, and you got this ADS stuff on lock with your series, and here's another great new thing you can do with Azure Data Studio.
It is, and I put away my that was my Galahorn from Destiny for the zombie apocalypse. So thank you for the warning there, Josh. Yeah, this Edwin put out a great blog post here, and this extension has been out there for a while, longer than I knew about. That's why I'm enjoying getting into the Data Studio. What this assessment is going to do, this extension is going to do, is it's going to run the best practices analysis against our SQL Server instance, and you can install it within your Azure Data Studio. And with this extension, you can go through, you can run your assessment, you can have it output the results, whether it's going to a VM, a SQL DB, a managed instance. You can then take that output, you could throw it to a table, let's say if you wanted to, where people could go and query against that table, or you could send it to an HTML report. And honestly, I think this is one of the videos I think I have now on my radar, because I want to try this, because if you don't have the SQL Server extension installed or you're not in an Azure VM, this is a great way to easily assess your database for a best practice. So really enjoyed this article by Edwin. Yeah, there's the create HTML report. So great stuff there.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Edwin Sabatino is always just delivering wonderful content. This is another great piece over on MS SQL Tips, which is a great site, and we want to encourage people to go to MS SQL Tips because there's a lot of wonderful content that is published there. Speaking of absolutely wonderful content, this was something I was just so excited about. This person excels in excellence. And of course, I'm talking about Mr. Andreas Padilla, who is up next with Exploring Microsoft Fabric, Fabric Spark, Azure OpenAI, LangChain, a hands-on case study.
Oh, thank you. I'm very excited about presenting this article by Tesh and Duja. What he tells us in no less than 10 minutes is how to bring in data from anywhere, push it into OneLake, create a notebook, then use that notebook to pair it with LangChain, use PontFlow to set the context, and then send that context over to OpenAI. It's beautifully done. What he does is he first has you create a notebook, beautiful. He then takes you through a sample, writes a little bit of code that scrapes some websites from the internet. He puts those into a text file. He imports those through a pipeline into OneLake. Love that. Then he shows us how to make sure we're doing it all securely with Azure Key Vault. Then he goes back to the notebook. He sets up the LangChain instance for you, that object. He brings in the data frame, imports OpenAI, sends those tokens and everything from with LangChain from what you just scraped from the internet as your context, and then you ask it a question, and it pairs it with OpenAI. Beautifully done. What this shows you in the end is how to use Fabric's notebooks, Fabric's data science side of it, and then pair it with OpenAI in a nice, easygoing pipeline.
And we have a video where I do this exact thing, but what I do is I'm using the LangChain agents to be able to ask questions about the data that we scrape. But this is great blog, very inspiring. I love going through the steps. The big difference, and this is something that folks will definitely get out of this is reading in and scraping websites to be able to do a summarization of the text as a document to be able to help summarize for you. Very, very powerful stuff that we've got going on with this. I love it. Speaking of powerful stuff that I absolutely love, up next, I've got Mr. Josh Luedeman, and he's got the Azure Arc Jumpstart documentation. Josh, give it to us. Give us this overview.
Yeah, so I believe I've had Jumpstart on here before as a featured project. One of the neat things that's been added in the recent release to the Jumpstart. Well, first of all, let me lay the foundation. If you're not familiar with Arc Jumpstart or seen me share it before, Arc Jumpstart is basically an open source project full of templates where you're able to quickly deploy Azure Arc based scenarios or solutions to basically, like I like to say, get your hands dirty with it, right? And what Jumpstart Agora does is starts to introduce a marketplace of industry and scenario specific deployments and steps within there, scenarios within within, like in this case, a retail supermarket, Contoso. And if down further, it actually rolls out different scenarios you can deploy. It'll speak to deploying a POS system using Azure, then using Arc to connect those services to on-premises resources, all kinds of different things. And it's open source. So if you see something in there and you work at a retailer and there's not a scenario within the supermarket one that fits what you're looking for, go build it and put a pull request in and push it back in. So a lot of opportunity there to build it out and see that at work.
And Josh, POS being a point of sale system, just for those that didn't know.
Yes, not my first car when I was learning how to drive in high school. That's a different kind of POS.
That's a fair. That's very fair. I think all of our cars were those types of cars, point of sale system cars. Yeah. Yep. Speaking of something though, however, who is grand and excellent, this next content, well, it goes above and beyond, and so does this person every single episode of the Fact Check. It is your friend of mine, Neeraj Jhaveri, and he has the August 2023 recap for Azure Database for Postgres Flexible Server. Neeraj, what do we got for August for Flexible Server?
So, because I have a couple of links for this in the next also. So August recap was more on the Azure database for Postgres Flexible Server because single server is going off and Flexible Server is taking over. So there are a couple of new features that came up, but particularly these are the 4 features that I wanted to highlight: auto vacuum monitoring, flexible DNS zone linking, server parameter visibility improvements, and single to flex migration tool improvements. So because now the customers have started, like, the deadline is next year of September, and people need to migrate. These are a few of the features that are going to help them out. Particularly the 4th one, where single to flex server tool improvement is something that is definitely people were looking at. Microsoft brought it the improvements that is needed to have your single server to migrate to flexible server.
Excellent. I love it. I love it. It's always good stuff, and it's important to realize because we've got a lot of people who are beginning to use Flex Server, and if you were on the previous version, you've got to get off. You got to go off to standard. You got to get to Flex, and that timeline is there. We're building tools to be able to help you with it, and it's important to be able to take those things and to make sure that you're utilizing them. Speaking of something that you want to make sure that you utilize, I found this amazing blog by Rui Romano he's a principal program manager from Power BI, and there are data refresh history enhancements specifically to Power BI. Now, where does this come into play? Also for Microsoft Fabric, because specifically if you're looking for automatic refresh attempts and there was an error, what we have is additional details to be able to show you if you failed, if you succeeded, and refresh attempt details as well that are now there. So that way we can see, where does this get pulled from? What does it look like? These history details are very important for anybody who's a Power BI administrator who's looking to be able to get a little more detail. So I thought this was an absolutely wonderful thing that is now in the service. Thank you so much to Rui for having this out there. I really loved it, and I thought it was a great thing to bring to the table. Speaking of something that I thought was absolutely amazing, it's a fundamental thing that people just don't know. And the deep technical insight for this next individual to be able to bring this to the forefront so that way they could deliver it to you and you could understand it. Well, that could only come from the one, the only Mr. Daniel Taylor. With impact of offline SQL Server index rebuilds. Dan, walk us through this.
So I found this. So it's going back to basics, right? Sometimes you need a refresher. And when I want to talk about indexes or I need a refresher, I usually go to you, Brad. But in this case, you weren't available. So I went out and did some Googling. And here in this article, Jared Westover covers, should we do an online or offline index rebuild, right? And he covers the purpose of defeating fragmentation, what a rebuild or reorg of the SQL index is, and give some scripts on how to do it so you can walk through these things yourself, these different solutions yourself. Goes through building the data set, and then how we can detect fragmentation down in here, and does a rebuilding offline. And for those that don't know, when you rebuild an index offline, it basically wreaks havoc inside your world, especially if you're a database that's 24/7, 365. It's going to do a lot of blocking on you.
And Dan, what happens if you do an offline index rebuild of a clustered index? You can't query. You can't query that table, right? It takes it offline, so you can't use it.
You can't use it, right? It's going to wreak havoc on your system. And he goes through and he shows some of the locking that you will see within that, and that's great because if you're on a standard edition of SQL Server, and we learned this the hard way back in Publix when somebody implemented this on us, they did a rebuild of the index, and we had standard edition all over the place. You can't do an online, so with that further here, Jared goes through and he talks about reorganizing of SQL indexes. Yes, it'll take longer, but if you have to do a rebuild or you have to reorganize your indexes in standard, it's better to use that because it'll cause less blocking and locking. Great article. Basically, to sum it up, TLDR, he says use rebuild online where possible. But great article by Jared.
Excellent. So next up, speaking of greatness, right? We've got another great article by a great individual on this team. I'm having a lot of fun with this technology right now, and they are just so simpatico with me to recognize that this was a topic I would be interested in. It's my good buddy, Andreas Padilla. He's up next with relationships between ADX, Azure Data Explorer tables on two databases or two clusters.
Two. Keyword there too. Thank you, Danny Hoder, for this. If you're working with Power BI and you're trying to go back to ADX, your data is going to be not necessarily on the same cluster. You might have to do some, some joining of tables, some cross cluster querying, etc. What he shows you, excellently done, really quickly, is how to set that up and make sure that you can put the workload on the ADX backend so you can get better performance and be able to tap into data that's in multiple clusters, multiple tables, so you can do those cross joins. Great article, Danny.
Absolutely. And I want to say it's a really nice thing. One of the things that we did when we were doing the August update with Bradley Schatt, I showed an example of how I was doing the IIS tracking. And one of the things I showed was how we could go in there and how we could set these exact settings. It is really important to recognize that you can go into Fabric and you can get that information for your cluster panel, and you can use it in many different ways to be able to access that data. And speaking of something that I thought was wonderful and very, very insightful. Well, again, this comes from someone who just knows me so well. Their intelligence and insight is just unparalleled. And not to mention, they brought together two people that I have fantastic memories of from the community. And I'm talking about Mr. Josh Luedeman, and he's got Jarrett and Kendra optimizing and exploring optimized locking. This is a great thing. Little Jeremiah Preshka. Oh, there we go. There's the internet blip I was waiting for. Kendra Little, Jeremiah Preshka, they come together and they're doing some videos to be able to explain optimized locking on SQL Server, a very important topic. Josh, take it away.
Yeah, and so Jeremiah and Kendra have a nice YouTube / podcast going called Dear SQL DBA. And in this one, they actually go through the feature that's in Azure SQL Database, which is Explore Optimized Locking. But I wanted to feature the entire, Dear SQL DBA podcast that they have going on here. There's a total of 81 videos that go back many years. And they've been rekindling it over the last month or two. And the nice thing is they touch not only on the technical pieces, but they get into things like tech interviewing, different types of jobs, employee contracts. So it's not just technical. It's kind of honestly what I love about what we do here as well. It's a little bit of tech. It's a little bit of not tech and personal, kind of all that married into one, because we're human beings and not robots and automatons that just do text. So it's a great thing. And if you haven't met Kendra or Jeremiah, you're missing out, and you should watch this because they're both great people individually, but great chemistry and cohesion together as well.
Nice.
And outside of the content, and that Kendra has been a supporter of many of us on this channel, you gotta watch. I'm mesmerized by the dancing lobster in the background on the video. So
okay, I wasn't the only one who got hypnotized for the first 2 minutes of the video.
Well, and the great thing is she's written a little bit about how she's gotten more into drawing lately, and she's doing these drawings. I mean, so credit to her as an artist. All that creativity, I believe that's all her. Speaking of someone who is just a consummate professional and a beautiful artist, well, that brings up my next person, and content that I absolutely enjoyed, and it is Mr. Neeraj Jhaveri with the Microsoft Fabric August 2023 update. I thought we covered this, but then I realized we did another one. Yeah,
July. I mean, there was a July one. So yeah, March to GA is going on. So a lot of updates are going to be coming into Fabric every month, probably every day or sometimes. So, I mean, they have a lot of releases going in there. Just a recap, nice recap by Ryan. He has a video also showing you. So in case if you don't want to read the articles, you can look at the video. But every single updates that has gone into Fabric to make it more based on the feedback that they're getting it, they have updated it out and broken down into this whole article. Is going by one. Even if you go at the bottom where it says Synapse, where it goes data warehousing, engineering, science. So every single component on Fabric is getting updates. And definitely, if you're looking for something that you wanted to have it in there, check out the blog. It will tell you if it's there, if it's not there, if it made it to this update, or maybe it's coming in the following month. So nice.
Absolutely.
Article.
Yeah, well done. And it's something that people should definitely be checking out, because as the Fabric team is publishing these, we're getting updates to the other services that are kind of connected all through that product group. We're getting Azure Snaps, we're getting Data Factory, we're getting Power BI. Everything is rolled together. So even if you aren't using Fabric, there may be individual services that you're utilizing that are very important for you to be able to find those updates. I found this next article just absolutely intriguing. This is something I want to play around with, and it was just so cool. What I found was that Mark Levezian, I'm hoping I'm getting your last name right, Mark. If I butchered it, I apologize. Adding a service principal to a Fabric workspace using Power BI's REST APIs. Now, this is a very important thing that many people have been asking about. How do I use security? How do I use a service principal when we've got Microsoft Fabric in play? And one of the things that I love is that he goes, hey, I failed. He didn't just show us how he succeeded. He showed us how he failed, calling the API, what he did as the mistake, and then what you can do to be able to fix that and do it the right way. So I love it. It's a story of success, trial and tribulation, and always good stuff to be able to understand, hey, what are the errors that I'm getting and why? So here we go. Here's the second mention that we've got for Christina Hughes. This time it's more technical in nature. And I was going to say, what a wonderful bit of technical detail that we have from someone with just amazing and wonderful taste. It is Mr. Daniel Taylor, Power BI VertiPack engine optimizing column encoding.
So great article by Christina here. All her articles great. She's a great speaker as well. So when she gets back on the circuit, get out there, support her when she's back out there. But here she goes over the importance of compressing those data columns within our Power BI models, especially the ones that we can, numeric columns. She gives a brief nod to Kuhn here, who we've had on the show as Roundup Links, about defining the value encoding and the hash encoding. And then she touches on here that our Power BI desktop application doesn't have the ability to show whether or not it's a hash or value column, but she provides the link to a team that has put together this thing called Tabular Editor, which allows us to go in with C# code and look at our different columns within our model and see if they're defined as value or if they're defined as hash. And if you know that they're a column type like numeric, that can be converted, this table editor will allow you to put a hint of value on there. So the next time you refresh your data model, if it's able to, it will compress that column up, helping with the speed of your resolutions and your
Optimized performance
there. Sorry, thank you. Tough words, but also she calls out, that it's just a hint there, and Mark Russo provided that information as well. It's a hint. It may not apply to everything, but it's worth giving it a try, right? To see if you can compress down that data a little bit more.
You didn't have to apologize, Dan. After you had the issue, we've had, a couple other folks with internet issues. I was just going to say, oh, Dan blipped. I was going to let you get away with it, man. You totally squandered an opportunity there.
And I should have been the.
Yeah, had you not said I would have just thought that I would be like, oh, Dan froze.
Yep.
All right. Well, hey, speaking of optimized performance, this next person always performs when we need them to, and boy, did they bring another great one. It's maximizing Spark performance, minimizing shuffle overhead. Andreas, tell us what we have here.
Oh, I'm going to tap into my Bradley ball here. This is the benchmark, the paradigm, the yardstick, the ideal, the exemplar, the epitome. What else do I have? The hallmark, the apex, the pinnacle of shuffling overhead articles. I love this one by Sushil Kumar. He talks to us about why shuffling is so expensive. What happens during a shuffle. It involves a lot of disk I/O, some data serialization, some network I/O. We want to avoid that, and it gives us great tidbits and strategies to mitigate shuffling on your Spark cluster. So you can apply filters. The first step, apply appropriate partitioning. Avoid using group by trees. Use data locally. Use memory and disk caching. Great tips. Always, this is what I recommend to my customers. Tap into this first before you break out your credit card and your wallet and scale up or scale out.
I got to tell you, Andreas, you are a vernacular virtuoso. That was a beautiful performance. And speaking of beautiful, last but not least, I have the beautiful mind himself of Mr. Josh Luedeman bringing us home with the final part of today with integrating Microsoft Fabric with Azure Databricks Delta tables.
Yeah, and this is a great blog post done by one of our teammates in Fast Track, Anu Singh, and he actually goes through setting up not only Delta tables on your Databricks cluster, but then connecting those Delta tables in Databricks with your Fabric instance. It's a great, simple walkthrough just on how to handle that basic scenario, which I think more customers, as they start looking at Fabric, are going to be looking at possibly how to do this, because there are a lot of great customers out there using Databricks already out in the world, and being able to integrate Databricks with Fabric is definitely a use case that I think we're going to see more of as the days go by.
Absolutely. And because this is one of the things that we've talked about often, if you are a customer, you're deeply involved in Databricks, whenever you see a new Spark offering for Microsoft, the questions we always start to get is, do I need to switch to this? And the answer is no. Use the right tool for the right job. If you have been heavily invested in this as a customer, the amount of work it's going to take you to change over to a new platform is not necessarily worth it. But the way we've architected this, you can use shortcuts from your data wherever it is in Azure to be able to get access to that in Fabric, leverage the power of Fabric to get insights into those data. Josh, great stuff. Absolutely love it. So let's go ahead and wrap it up. Neeraj had to leave a little bit early, but one of the things that we want to make sure and note is coming up, we have Future Data Driven. Future Data Driven is coming up very, very soon. It is a free conference, and you want to go and you want to register for Future Data Driven. I've got a presentation there with my good buddy, Josh Luedeman. Daniel Taylor has a presentation. Andreas Padilla has a presentation. Neeraj has a presentation. We've got teammates, Mir Alam, Gene Hayes. We've got some product group people that are presenting with Neeraj and Gene on ADLS. You want to go check this out. Not to mention, Bob Ward is there. Davide Murray is there. There are so many wonderful people from Microsoft, outside of Microsoft, that are there and presenting. Dan, go ahead, buddy.
And it's free.
And it's free. Again, go sign up. This is going to be a great day of virtual learning. The last I heard, there's over 1,000 people already registered. You don't want to miss the boat on this. This is going to be a great day. 5 different rooms are available. Go and check out the different sessions that are available and plan your day accordingly. And then give it to me quick, Josh. Where are we going to be in November?
Oh, we are going to be on the beautiful tear-jerking grounds of the Lowe's Royal Pacific Resort and Conference Center at the luscious and lovely Universal Studios Orlando, Florida.
That's right, folks. Coming up, we have Live 360. It is the week before Thanksgiving. There are other conferences in other places, but I got to ask you, why would you want to be anywhere other than Live 360, where we're going to have our pre-con with Buck Woody on Microsoft Fabric. I'll be there. Josh will be there. Neeraj Jhaveri will be there. We all have sessions. People from the product group are there. CSAs are going to be there. Microsoft MVPs, Thomas LaRock, Karen Lopez are going to be there. Lenny Lobel, so much to choose from. And it's 4 conferences in one. You've got data, you've got Office 365, you've got AI, you've got data, which is going to cover SQL, Power BI, all the great stuff. You don't want to miss a thing. It is the place you want to be. Your room card is a park pass. You're sitting there. You're able to hear the Hulk roller coaster from the conference center. I mean, take your family and go enjoy some wonderful family time after you've spent your day learning. Go relax and have a good time. And of course, we're going to have content dropping tomorrow on Wednesday. Our Azure Data Community Roundtable is back. Our next break is not until the week of Thanksgiving, so we're going to be with you weekly. If you have any content you would like to drop, please reach out to us on LinkedIn, reach out to us on Twitter, reach out to us on YouTube in the comments. We would love to hear from you and what it is you're working on so that we could feature you on a future roundtable. Gentlemen, did I miss anything?
No, not that I can think of.
All right. Well, hey, take care of one another. Be good out there. And we will see you next week on Tales from the Field. Bye, everybody.
Take care.
Today's gonna be a good day. Wake up. Today's gonna be a good day.